Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about ARs, both AR pistols and a couple things about normal AR rifles. I build AR-15 style platform rifles and pistols a lot. It's a great thing to do. I know a ton of people do it. I'm not the only one. I've built everything from 6.5 Grendel, heavy hitting rounds and a standard AR-15 receiver, all the way to the standard 5.56, and most recently this 300 Blackout. So that one I'm going to be talking about today, actually in particular, is the 300 Blackout. I'm really happy with how it turned out. There are one or two things that I am going to still add to it after we're done with this video, and I'll do maybe a review on those items once I add them. But we just got done shooting this today. Fire's great. So I'm going to talk about some of the things I love about it, some of the things that keep in mind if you're going to build something like this, and the parts that I chose and how they perform. Now this whole gun, it is not going to require any tack stamps. It does not have a suppressor on there currently, and it is not an SBR. It is an AR pistol, and it is running with a Flashcan. So I'll talk about that muzzle device in a minute, but just know if you want to build something like this for yourself, you do not need to have any tax stamps or $200 paid or anything like that. Now, with that being said, I do plan eventually on putting a suppressor on this, and at that point, of course, it will be a single tax stamp pistol, mainly so I can shoot subsonics. But back here, we've got an SBS Tactical pistol brace. This thing is pretty awesome. I think I picked that sucker up for about $130, and I got it at a local gun store. It's pretty great. So you've got this elastic band that's velcroed on this side that allows you, to strap that to your forearm so that you can stabilize shooting it one-handed or, kind of from the hip without shouldering it, of course. So that's kind of what that's there for. It's pretty great quality. It is, a type of plastic for the main part, but down here actually you have rubber, so this can be moved and flexed, and there's a couple different ways you can actually brace that to your forearm, and I'll show you that in a moment. But this thing's great. It's solid. It does not wiggle. There's no movement of that, no play there, which I think is great. It is fully collapsible and extendable, like a standard stock is on most AR style weapons. Now it is mil-spec, so it will fit any mil-spec buffer tube. It did come with its own buffer tube assembly, which is pretty cool. Now we got a standard castle nut. Moving forward, I did go with an ambidextrous charging handle here. I just thought it'd be a cool feature to add there, so I went with the ambidextrous one this time. Normally, I just keep it pretty simple with my charging handles because I don't shoot competitions or anything like that. But I thought, I'd go the extra mile with this build, and I'm glad I did, honestly. So we've got that. Now, I went with an Anderson Manufacturing stripped upper and stripped lower, and I always, get the parts kits to assemble them myself. So with the Anderson Manufacturing upper receiver here, I got the Aero Precision parts kit. So the forward assist assembly and our dust cover, ejection port cover, those are Aero Precision. Great company. I think they're based here out of Texas, where we're at. So definitely support them. I've bought upper and lower receivers from them as well, and they're great. But these Anderson Manufacturing receivers have always held up very well for me, and you can get them for a fraction of the price. So if you're into building ARs and you're working within a budget like a lot of us are, check out Anderson Manufacturing, especially for your lower receiver. I think this one was 60 or 70 bucks. Now, the lower receiver, I did go with one that has a built-in trigger guard assembly. Just one less thing for me to have to worry about hitting a roll pin into. I've never really had a problem with doing that before, but I don't do anything fancy with my trigger guards, so this kind of just saved me an extra step, and I kind of liked it being integrated into the actual receiver. Now, I did add a pretty nice Magpul, very ergonomic style handle on there, which I kind of enjoy a lot, actually. Down here on my other build is a more just standard mil-spec style grip, and it works well enough, of course, but I enjoyed having the just better comfort of this handle. Now, I always add, if you'll notice on both, is these anti-walk roll pins. I highly recommend on any AR you buy or build, if they don't have those installed already, go ahead and swap those out. What they are just basically roll pins that you would put through your hammer and trigger assembly, or putting a roll pin through that's held there mainly by friction. you're actually able to screw those two ends together, and it keeps it from, you know, starting to kind of walk its way out as you're putting rounds down range and the gun's vibrating. So that's absolutely something I put on all of my ARs that I build, and I think you can get them for like $5, so it's absolutely worth it. Now going forward, I did add just a mil-spec trigger and hammer kit. I went with the all black just because I kind of wanted to keep this one all black. Since it is a 300 blackout, I figured why not. I mentioned there's about 2 things that I am going to add to this pistol, one of which is going to be a drop-in trigger kit. I do want to get one of those. Right now this trigger is doing just fine for what it's used for, but it never hurts to have a better trigger, right? Now going up here, I am just running with some pop-up irons. I do have a red dot that I plan on putting on this guy, and that is the second thing that I still need to add to this build, and that's a better optic. I plan on keeping these are Ruger pop-up iron sights, and I do plan on keeping those there. We used them at the range today because, of course, we forgot our spare batteries for our red dot. But I do plan on mounting another optic in between those and just keeping these for backup. Now, my favorite half of this gun, my favorite part of this build, is going to be the front half. So we're doing an 8.5-inch barrel for this 300 blackout. Now, something important to know, if you're planning on building a 300 blackout AR pistol or SBR or rifle, if you are planning on running subsonic rounds, understand that if you are using a shorter than 10-inch barrel and it's not suppressed, you may have to adjust your gas block or your buffer tube spring to be able to cycle both supers and subs reliably at the same time. Now, if you put a suppressor on there, that should be able to alleviate any issues you're having with cycling both types of rounds out of the same gun. Right now, with this one set up, we've got an 8.5-inch barrel, and I have a Flashcan from KAK Industries. That thing is awesome. I love the way it looks. Again, that's not a suppressor, it is a Flashcan. And what a Flashcan does, in case you're not aware, just kind of redirects all of the muzzle flash and gases forward. So right here, with an 8.5-inch barrel and a 10.5-inch handrail, if we put an A2 flash hider right there, while we're waiting for our suppressor to come in the mail, you know, you might be getting a lot of carbon and heat onto your hands when you fire this weapon. But by adding this Flashcan, I think, number one, it looks really cool, but number two, it also kind of directs all that forward. So it is great in place of a suppressor if you're waiting on your tax stamp to come through. So I do recommend these. I think they're about $35 at KAK Industries website. But the problem comes in with this build is if you're trying to fire subsonic rounds right now, unfortunately, this is not going to cycle them. Now, some people's do, but I can only speak from my experience. This AR pistol will not fire subs reliably. Sometimes they'll cycle, sometimes they won't. People have suggested getting an adjustable gas block or changing your buffer tube weight or your spring. And that's all well and good, and I'm sure you could find a way for it to shoot both right now by doing that. But the way I look at it is, without a suppressor, why would I run subsonic rounds? So I typically will just run supersonics when it's not mounted with a suppressor. And when I do receive a suppressor and I add that on here, that's going to allow more hang time for that gas tube to reliably cycle the subsonic round. So it's trying to kind of fix a problem that's not really there. It's not really designed to shoot subsonics without that can mounted. But with that being said, I love the way that this handrail allows you to internally mount a suppressor. It's pretty awesome. I love this thing. It's probably my favorite handrail. I have a SIG handrail down here on one of my AR rifles, and that thing's great, but just something about this one. Now, this is a Strike Industries handrail. I believe this is a 10.5-inch handrail. It mounts just perfectly, just seamlessly to the upper receiver rail system up here. So you have a Picatinny rail until about here. Then you have an M-LOK system. You got 4 M-LOK holes right here, and then it goes back to a Picatinny system here with M-LOK on the sides. So that's pretty awesome. And I really enjoyed the ability to run, you know, something like this angled foregrip, which uses the M-LOK system, and then be able to throw on something with this Picatinny rail at the top and not have to use any of those adapters that you might need for M-LOK to Picatinny or something like that. I also really enjoy the shape of this handguard. and it's been awesome. It is made out of aluminum as well, so it's nice and durable, and it's also pretty lightweight. Now, as I mentioned, we've just got these Ruger Precision flip-up iron sights, but we are going to be putting a red dot on there. All in all, this thing's great. The last thing I didn't talk about here is the bolt carrier group. The bolt carrier group is also by Anderson. Anderson Manufacturing, so actually we do have a matching bolt carrier group, upper and lower. I didn't actually buy them all together, it just happened to be pieced together that way, but it has not given me any issues. Like I mentioned, the only issue I've had with this gun isn't really an issue, but it's something to know about with the Blackout platform, and that is if you plan on doing subsonics, you should plan on using a suppressor for those, or setting your build up to fire only one either sub or super cartridge. But with that being said, this thing's a whole lot of fun to shoot. Really not much difference in recoil felt between the 5.56 and the 300 Blackout Supersonics, and I haven't had any other issues. I did a pistol length gas tube, of course, and a low profile gas block. I think it's a .750 gas block, and that's about it. So let's go ahead and show you some range footage. All right. Should be good to go. Minor setback, but we're gonna be trying some of these Ruger rapid deploy iron sights. We had a little bit of a battery red dot and we didn't bring an extra, so try to do a quick fix with the classic flip up iron sights and see how this works. So we're gonna start off with firing some of these Winchester 300 black 147 grains. These things are going just under 2,000 feet per second with its muzzle velocity. Let's give it a try. Good chance we're going to need to do some adjustment. Since we just threw those on there, we may need to use this little key and kind of work that out. We're putting it right on that second, or on that middle target on the left. Looks like it's going a little bit down and to the right. However, we're pretty close. We kind of want this thing to be hitting at zero at about 25 yards is really as much as I'd want to fire this AR pistol. So let's bring this target out a little bit farther. See how it fires at 10 yards here. All right, 10 yards test with the 300 Blackout 147 grain Winchester. All right, let's take a look and see how those rounds hit. Okay, so we're getting a solid grouping, that's for sure. So it's easy for me to think if I fired one or two and they're all over the place that it's just me, but we're getting a decent grouping and in the same spot, so I might need to adjust that sight. Looks like to the left, maybe one MOA, and up maybe one. But we're gonna try it at 15 yards now and see if it's, you know, getting closer and what this zero is already set at. Smell that? It doesn't have the same scent as a 5.56 out of an AR, because that smell of the 5.56 from the AR is, I love it. I don't know, it doesn't have that same exact scent. Okay, yeah, see it's creeping a little bit more that direction. I had one flyer, it looks like. Might just be me pulling.
The other day, showing my buddy this thing. Oh yeah? Yeah, it's his first time. How's he
Well, as you can see, when it's shooting supersonics, it fires perfectly. So it is a matter of just the hang time being too short with this size barrel and no can with the subs not cycling, which is good because, you know, when you first build one of these things and the subs don't cycle and you start with subs, you start to think, oh, what did I do? Is the gas block not on right? It's just a matter of, it's not designed to shoot subsonics without a suppressor. And really, if you think about it, there's no point in doing it. If you're going to run it without a suppressor, go ahead and use the supers, because you're not fooling anybody without a suppressor and running subs anyway. It's going to be loud enough for people to know, maybe a little less loud than the supersonics. But yeah, so man, I love this thing. The fire is great. Really doesn't have any more than a 5.56, but you know, you're getting twice the grain rate here. These are 47 grains. We have some more of those we're going to shoot. Before we do that, we're going to try out some of these Barnes ammunition. These are 120 grains, so a little bit lighter. Jacketed hollow points though, and these are flying a little bit quicker too because of that lighter weight. We're going to be getting about 2100 FPS out of this, whereas these last ones were I think 1900 FPS or so. So we're going to see how these feel, if there's much of a difference in the kick or the accuracy. So let's give it a try. Ooh, fancy box. You gotta love just the look of a 300 Blackout round. They look so snubby. Just such a big bullet with a small casing. I love them, dude. Oh, did you see that, dude? As I popped that in, as I pushed the spring down, a little bit of smoke came out of it. This thing creates so much gas, dude. I need to get a speed loader, man. This hurts. All right, give it a try. First hollow points to this new build. Go for the top right target. Feels good. I don't notice any more kick or anything like that. I think I whiffed that first shot pretty well. Take a look. Oh yeah, I did. I knew it. I knew as soon as I pulled it, man. I pulled that trigger. I didn't squeeze it. All right. Top right. All right. Okay, no. I got that right on there, man. I'm getting constant groupings to the right. Every time I shoot, man. I will say these cycle just fine. No issues there. Go ahead and unload the rifle, lock the bolt back, and I'm going to adjust that sight a little bit. Okay. Okay, so if I'm shooting to the right, bring it to the right. Oh, this is just windage. Okay, here it is. This is for adjusting left to right. Okay, let's try that. You give that a try. 2 rounds. I'm gonna go in right there. Top right, 2 rounds. All right. Those ones were on the blue. Those ones are a little bit better. See? Those two bolts are blue. See, my groupings are all in the same spot.
Rifles on 2, rifles on 3.
We need to move it up a little bit too. All right. Moved it up and to the side. Let's give that a try. Ooh, that one was on the fucking collarbone. God damn. My grouping's not good. Maybe I didn't make enough adjustment. Alright. Give this a try now. Alright. Go for top left that time. Okay. Those are getting closer actually. I might bring it up a little more too. Alright. That was it, bro. That was it. I knew the elevation had to be adjusted now. I'll take those last three as a good grouping, man. Let's see, moved up a little bit. These last three are all right there, man. There we go. All right, we're gonna do bottom left target now. I don't think we have much left. We got 2 rounds. All right. Alright. I'll take it. Not bad. That's a fun gun to shoot, man.
We're in here too. Yeah, she's good, man. So we got another box of these 147 grain 3-inch blackout from Winchester. We're gonna try those out. We're gonna start with 6 rounds, 1 for each spot on the target. See how we do. We're gonna try to do this quickly, but we're also gonna try to do it accurately, and we're gonna do this at 7 yards. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, with a red dot, it'd probably be quicker target acquisition. So if you're trying to do, quick shots on multiple targets in rapid succession, red dot optics probably the way to go. Right now we're just running these flip up irons because we made the rookie mistake of letting our red dot battery die when we got here and not bringing it back up. So I do have one at home, of course, but that doesn't help us now. So we're going to try this with the iron sights, see how we do at 7 yards. All right, good there. I think that was here. This one, I don't know, I think it was that one. Decent one here. Decent one there. Decent one there. So, you know, it's not terrible, but it's also quick. I will say, it's just night and day. Like if you have the option of having, you know, PDW style AR pistol or something like that as your home defense weapon versus your handgun, this is just night and day. Your ability to put accurate powered rounds down the range just goes up exponentially. You know, so it all depends on what your situation is. If you have the ability to keep one of these things accessible, you know, staged. But if you do, I don't think anyone can argue that it's a little more effective than using a handgun. Oop. I'm gonna pull her up.
That's why when you see like he already
So as you can see today at the range, we had a whole lot of fun. We cycled some hollow points through those, and we also put some standard range ammunition from Winchester, and both of them fired very accurately, very well. We got this thing sighted in with these iron sights. We'll be back there to shoot it with the red dot and get that locked in once we change out the batteries there. Rookie mistake, but still had a lot of fun there. And that's going to be it for this video, but remember to tune in again soon for another episode of Jack Does All.
There you are.
I used your pepper.
That was it, bro. That was it.